Basically, I was always drawn a little bit away from my small town. I always wanted to explore the world, travel a lot. And I started with a J1 visa in America. I was an au pair there.
Right.
Then I kind of caught the travel bug a little bit. I wanted to keep going and kind of like burn through all my working holiday visas now. And now I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, like I want to keep going. I really want to be location independent. I really want to keep traveling, exploring, and being in different countries a lot. So it kind of had to be a freelance job. But even when I studied, I always like in the semester holidays, I was like traveling. I did like an exchange program. I'm just drawn to like somewhere else, a little bit away from Germany.
How German do you feel?
Not very. I do think sometimes I have certain aspects of a German person. Like people tell me I'm super direct.
This is not your first time here, right?
No, I've been here maybe 4 or 5 times. One of my really good friends that I actually met traveling when I was in the US at like 20, she lives here and she has an apartment here. So she kindly lets me stay in her apartment because she's not using it for the summer.
Wow, how lucky you are.
Really, really lucky. I know.
Hi, Lara.
Hey, Mike, what's up?
Everything's okay here. How about you?
I'm doing fabulous. You know, I'm in Spain now. Everything's good. It's summer finally.
Right.
I was in Australia before. It was getting really cold, gray, rainy days. And now it's hot here, but
I guess the Spanish summer is treating well, right?
It is. I'm loving it.
Very good. Let's talk about your digital nomad lifestyle.
Yeah.
Where did it stem from?
So basically, I was always drawn a little bit away from my small town. I always wanted to explore the world, travel a lot. And I started with a J1 visa in America. I was an au pair there.
Right.
Then I kind of caught the travel bug a little bit. I wanted to keep going and kind of like burn through all my working holiday visas now. And now I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, like I want to keep going. I really want to be location independent. I really want to keep traveling, exploring, and being in different countries a lot. So it kind of had to be a freelance job. And that's what I got then.
You are a freelance copywriter. I guess This is a very compatible career choice to location independence, right?
100%. And it's also a very creative job, which I really enjoy. So I'm also really into content creation like yourself. And it works really well because copywriting is basically just all written form of content, right?
And you come to Spain every summer.
No. It would be nice, maybe, you know, like I'm on the hunt for like a little bit more of a base because my life is obviously a bit chaotic at times.
This is not your first time here, right?
No, I've been here maybe 4 or 5 times. One of my really good friends that I actually met traveling when I was in the US at like 20, she lives here and she has an apartment here. So she kindly lets me stay in her apartment because she's not using it for the summer.
Wow, how lucky you are.
Really, really lucky. I know.
How is it so far? I mean, for you to come here once, I guess every single time you came here, it was in summer, right?
I was actually here as well in November last year, and I really enjoyed the temperature then as well. Like I can really see Spain as maybe one of my bases in the future because like even in November it was 20 degrees. Fabulous. It was a bit windy, but it was amazing. But the thing is, every time I was here was with my friend as basically a translator, a tour guide of such. So this is definitely a little bit different now. I'm kind of like on my own for the first time.
Okay. And how have you found the experience so far? That's what I was going to ask. For you to come repeatedly, there must be something interesting, right?
Yes. So it being the first time, I do speak a little bit of Spanish because I did an exchange program with Costa Rica as well. So I do speak a little bit of Spanish, but it's not as good as like my English, for instance, right? So I do struggle a lot, but I'm improving as well because my friend is not there. It's actually great for me because I have to practice. And I find that's when we learn the most if we don't really have any other option. With languages, with everything in life. So that's one part that's really good about it. But then also now I have to make my own friends, right? Because my friend's not here, which has been a really interesting experience. Obviously, I'm used to it just from like traveling and living in other countries. So I kind of have my little ways on like how to create a network pretty quickly, I'd say.
So you're originally from Germany.
Exactly.
And then you've been traveling around the world for the past 11 years?
Exactly right. I was in Germany in between to study for a really brief period. But even when I studied, I always like in the semester holidays, I was like traveling. I did like an exchange program. I'm just drawn to like somewhere else, a little bit away from Germany.
So how German do you feel?
Not very. I do think sometimes I have certain aspects of a German person. Like people tell me I'm super direct. People can either like deal with it very well or they don't really want to talk to me that much. Because that is like a very German thing, right? We are, as a country, as people, we are super straightforward. I also think the humor is very German. Like I have a bit of a dark sense of humor, like really ironic, really sarcastic all the time. But it's also part of our love language, I would say. Like if a German person mocks you a little bit, they like you. They wouldn't put in the effort for somebody they don't like. But I can understand how like not everybody understands, right? Like everybody's different. So I think those are probably the most German things I have about me. But other than that, I don't really relate that much to my country anymore, if I'm honest. Like every time I'm back, I find that a lot of the people are a bit narrow-minded, even a bit rude and unhappy. And like, I don't really relate to it that much.
So I guess your sense of adventure and openness has little to do with the local cultural identity.
Absolutely not. No, especially because I'm from a super small town. So in my town, there's 5,000 people living. So it's really, really small, right? Like kind of everybody knows each other. Everybody knows each other's business as well. Like there's a lot of gossip. Like if somebody does something, everybody knows it. And I was always very bored of that, like in a very young age as well. Like when I was like, I think it started when I was like 14, 15, I felt a little bit like, I don't think I belong here. I'm very bored, but I couldn't really place because I had never traveled, never like been anywhere else. So I couldn't really understand what that is, like what I could do as well differently. And then I remember I saw an ad somewhere on Facebook, I believe, about the au pair program, like that people would go to America to like watch kids and just like live there. And I was like, my ticket out. This is me gone. Bye.
Is this a common thing over there to go and live abroad?
The au pair experience, I would say yes, or maybe even working holiday visas. But most people, they do 1 year abroad, then they come back, pick up where they left off and just like enter the regular corporate world or enter the normal 9 to 5, just like a more regular life, I'd say. And I never stopped. I was like, no, this is fun. I want to keep going.
How long is this nomad lifestyle intended to be? Do you think there will be a point where you'll get back to your country and then maybe this is just a period of your life?
That is a hard no at the moment. I always say never. I don't know what will happen in the future. I don't know if I may end up living in Germany. There's pros and cons to everything, in my opinion. But at the moment, as of 2024, I do not see myself moving back there anytime soon, and I do not see myself settling down in Germany. I do, however, crave a little bit more of a stability and a home base. I think for me, the ideal thing would be to like live in 2 countries half the year, like maybe one base in Europe, one base in Asia or Australia, and then travel from those bases. I think that would be my ideal life at the moment.
Visiting different places, immersing yourself into different cultures, traveling as in general. What do you think is the most enjoyable and exciting part of it?
Definitely meeting new people from all over the world and experiencing their culture, their food, their languages even. Like I have so many conversations even about what word they use for a certain expression or lifestyle or thing in their life. Like there's so many differences, even in the Spanish language. Like I was at my friend's house on Sunday and there were people from Argentina and from Spain and they were talking about it as well, just like how there's so many different words for Spanish speakers in South America versus Spanish speakers here.
Right.
And I think there's so many cultural differences and differences in food. as well as languages. It's just super interesting to keep learning.
A good example of that would be what they call sobremesa in Spanish. It's a post-meal conversation at the table.
Yeah.
After lunch or, after eating. It's hard to translate it into other languages, actually.
I've never heard that, but I love it so much. It's just like a little bit of like a friendly chat after the meal. Amazing.
Exactly.
I love it. Sobremesa?
Sobremesa, yeah. Like in one
like
word.
It. I'll be using it. I'll be using that in the next few days. Every time I learn a word or an expression from somewhere, I need to use it like a lot of times in the next few days to like remember it.
So what do you think is the one thing that easily connects you to a different culture among different options? The language and even food could be to some extent.
I honestly think it's probably the open mind.
Yeah.
Like being very open-minded towards new things is the easiest connection you can have with somebody. Because if you're open-minded to try their food, to try to speak their language, to try and understand their culture, they are super happy and they really want to tell you more. Versus if you approach everything and say, no, but we do it differently, then nobody wants to tell you how they feel about it or what they do differently. Like, I think the best way to approach any situation is without judgment and with an open mind.
How do you come up with a different place to visit?
A lot of it is driven